I like shiny cardboard. I do not like grading the shiny cardboard. I do not like green eggs and ham. I have said it for many moons now. I think grading cards is hooey. I know I've spit and shit about this topic for a while, but it's true. I just think it's a bunch of horseradish. You pay hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to grade your cards, and sometimes they get damaged. Other times, it just feels like it's truly just RNG, the roll of the dice, and it's entirely dependent on whoever's manhandling your card's mood on that given day with whatever grade they decide to dole out. To me, it just always feels inconsistent, so I just really never think that it's worth the money to get cards graded. And I know people make entire careers out of buying and selling graded cards and all of that. All power to you. I'm not your fucking dad. I'm not coming in there with a belt making you stop just because I don't like it. You do what you want to do. But there is just very real problems with the whole practice of grading cards, especially when it comes to things like PSA. And that's what we're about to talk about today. PSA is probably one of the biggest when it comes to card grading. I'm sure all of you have heard their brand name tossed around quite a bit. When it comes to card grading, they're like fucking Kleenex, where when people talk about a graded card, they usually say like PSA plus the number as opposed to like just general card grading. The same way when people talk about tissue, sometimes they say, can you give me a fucking Kleenex? Like it's gotten to that level where they are just that big. They're kind of the top dog. But I also just really don't like them in particular. I think they're one of the worst in the card grading industry, an industry I already think is full of corruption in general. And today I saw a video breaking down a wild situation where someone had an extraordinarily rare card. I'm talking less than 50 of these cards in the world, at least that are known about. It's a PSA, or was, RIP, God rest its soul, a PSA 10 Deoxys lenticular card. So basically it's 3 art in 1, and it's from over 22 years ago. There are only a handful of these out there, and the estimated price based on like recent data is around $45,000 for this card. And this individual had this card, and they wanted it to get reholdered. And when they sent it to PSA, they fucking blasted it. They annihilated that card. And what he received back was a PSA 6. What they're citing is a PSA 6, noting that it was damaged, unfortunately. And instead of like paying him what the card's actual value would be worth, they aren't willing to do that. They're instead hiding behind this fair market value number they're pulling out of their dirty rectum and offering significantly less. So I want to show you some of this video and go over this because it is very scummy from everything I can see.
This is a holy grail for some Deoxys collectors. And I'll tell you, it's a grail for a reason. It's got it all. It's old and it's very exclusive. It was only given out for the release of Pokemon's 7th movie, Destined Deoxys, and only in Japan was this card given out. And it's super cool because it's the only small lenticulated card to exist. Yeah, here's an example of a lenticulated Charizard card, or what lenticulated means. The card changes depending on the angle you look at it. Here's a little video that shows you how cool this card is.
This Pokemon card is actually 3 cards in 1. When you move this card up and down, Deoxys will change into a different form.
This is just showing you the card itself and what makes it so rare and valuable to collectors. Lenticular shit from back in the day is actually really hype. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but right here, I actually have my original copy of Majora's Mask with the lenticular label on it. It's so fucking cool. And this is a really rare card, especially to find in a pristine condition. It's been over 2 decades. So having a PSA 10 is very, very rare.
This is a sick card, and this particular card was originally graded as a 10. Originally. Now, how did that change? Well, it happened through a process called reholdering. Older PSA as a company, a grading company, was a little more lenient on Pokemon cards, or just cards in general, at the time. So, when you get an older slab, you expect a lesser quality condition of a card, even if it is in a 10. Logan Pulse Pikachu. And you'll see this happen at Pokemon card shows. People will ask if my card has a older certification number, meaning it was graded at a older point in time. And if they are graded at an older point in time, they're actually worth a little less. So what some people do is they get their cards reholdered.
Which is exactly what this individual is doing. They wanted it reholdered so they could have an updated slab showing that it is a pristine 10, even by modern, more strict grading standards, because that would then fetch a higher price to collectors that want to purchase the item. And according to the original Reddit post, they actually did have someone offer in excess of 45K. I'm assuming that may have been dependent on like the reholdering maintaining a tin, which is probably why they were like really gung-ho about doing it. And then disaster struck. And then the Fire Nation attacked.
Now imagine the shock that Brian felt when he submitted his super old, super rare, already in a PSA 10 Deoxys for reholdering, and it came back to him as a PSA 6, losing about 90% of its value. And it wasn't because he did anything wrong, but PSA actually damaged his card. 268-279-56, I actually looked it up, and as you can see, it actually has been deemed back down to an EX Mint 6. They kept the same certification number, and they turned it down from a PSA 10 all the way down to a PSA 6.
Again, just to make sure it's very clear, the reason he was doing this is because with an older slab, it was more lenient, which means buyers wouldn't pay as much because there's a chance it's not actually a tin. Maybe there's like some scuffs here, a little poop over there, like who really knows? So he was getting it reholdered to update that to fetch a higher price. And what happened is, and you can see it through searching the serial number, it got regraded all the way down to a 6. And then, after corresponding with PSA via email, which we're about to look at, it's because they fucked it up. They ruined it. They took away the vast majority of the value of this card, which is life-changing money, mind you, all because they made a whoopsie-daisy. Oh, clumsy us, real butterfingers. We seem to have crumpled it up and used it as toilet paper. But don't worry, we slabbed it, and we've updated the serial number in our system, so now everyone will know that this is now a 6. Why aren't you happy? This is what you paid for. So here's the email. My name is Dorothy, and I'm a supervisor for the Customer Relations Department team here at PSA. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me this morning as discussed over the phone. CERT, and that's the Deoxys, was unfortunately impacted during our encapsulation process. This did lead the card to no longer merit the grade of a PSA 10. Instead, our head of grading has provided that the new grade is a PSA 6. I am provided the details below. Dorothy, come on! You're going to make a grammar mistake like that? This is less than professional. I am provided. It should be I have provided the details below. Get with the program, Dorothy. Take this seriously. Along with our offer based on our findings of the fair market value. That's a boogeyman term with PSA, by the way.
They say the description, the card, and the original 10. They confirm that it's originally a 10, and they say that the fair market value is $20,000. And here's where we're going to get some issues. They said the grade of the value of the 6 is $750, and with the ordering fees, I can't believe they included the order fee here, that it costed $190 just to destroy their card. And so they go on to say that they would like to offer the market value difference in the form of credit on an account or a check and remove their insane respective grading fee, which, oh my gosh, I can't believe you'd spend $200 just for them to rewrite a number on a card.
Quick pause here, a little halftime show, because I have been screeching about that to the high heavens for so long. PSA overcharges the fuck out of everyone who makes the mistake of using their services. You pay an arm and a leg for the most basic of services, and they arbitrarily jack the price up as they're jacking themselves off on top of your cards, giving you whatever grades they decide to pull out of their ass that day, and their numbers make no sense. It's extremely expensive to do, like, basically anything even remotely adjacent to card grading through PSA. So, like, I'm not surprised at all about the reholdering being nearly $200 just to fucking update the slab. It's crazy, man. It is actually crazy. That price didn't shock me in the slightest. I'm actually surprised it wasn't $1,000, knowing PSA.
They would also like to offer to have the item encapsulated as the current PSA grade or as authentic at no additional cost. How kind of them. As discussed on the phone, I understand you have concerns with initial market values. Please note our fair market value pricing is established by calculating the average sold prices for comparable items. And they say if you show any difference, we'll forward them to the pricing evaluation team. Now, the reason why this is such a crazy deal and such an insane, insulting offer is because the last sale on this card was $45,000. Offering $20K as an average is a spit in the face, and I'll explain later why.
This is where it gets extremely spicy. That card sold only a couple of weeks ago by PSA. And this is where it gets a little conspiratorial, but I think there's a lot of merit to it. There are people that are speculating that they didn't actually damage his card when reholdering it. The encapsulation process, it's a psyop. It's not real. What they're thinking might have happened is PSA, when reholdering that PSA 10 Deoxys that was submitted, they took it and then sold it themselves, and then instead gave him a 6, saying that it was damaged and now it's down to a 6. That is a theory, just a little game theory that a lot of people have, because you need to stop and consider just how unlikely these circumstances are that PSA had 2 PSA 10 Deoxys lenticular cards from 2004 at the same time, when there is only 38 of these cards in the fucking known universe. And somehow PSA had 2 of them at the same time. When this card was being reholdered, they had already been selling this other 10 that they had for $45K. The timing is just very suspicious. PSA was who sold that $45,000 Deoxys. But even setting aside the conspiracy, even if that's entirely just wrong and a bunch of fiddlesticks, they have their own data to pull from for the fair market value. They, PSA, sold this exact same card, this PSA 10 Deoxys, only a matter of weeks ago for $45,000. So wouldn't basic logic stand to reason that they would view that card as $45,000? So why are they now telling this poor guy here, who just lost this card now because of their incompetence, that actually fair market value is about 20K, so we'll give you 19K because we're splitting the difference here with the 6 and that, when they themselves have already sold it for 45K? They should know that that is the fair market value. That's what you just fucking sold it at. So why are you feeding this guy a bunch of nonsense? Why are you blowing smoke up his butt? That's why it's been like so big. And like, well, I mean, just damaging a card this rare is already going to be a big story, but this blows it up even further because of just how fishy and shady this whole thing is from PSA. They sold this exact card for 45K. Why are you now trying to turn around and say that it's only worth 20K to this individual here whom you've just ruined that exact card for? It doesn't make sense. It's weird.
And the thing is, if they gave him a decent offer, I wouldn't need to make this video. They actually threatened the dude if he made it public. This is like the stuff I would expect Kevin O'Leary to write if he was on a PR team. Please let me know once you find those listings, or if you choose to accept their offer. Should you choose to accept the offer, due to the offer being over $500, we would need you to sign a standard release agreement. So their excuse is that because the offer is over $500, he needs to sign a hush-hush document. If you approve the resolution as offered, you would receive an email link to the DocuSign to review and sign the agreement. Please be aware that should you accept this settlement offer, our standard settlement agreement includes a confidentiality provision. Sorry, I'm sick. My brain is fried right now. Any public disclosure of the settlement offer may result in our rescinding the offer.
That's pretty stern. That's rather frank, but they do give you a nice little sweet apology at the end saying they sincerely apologize, and I think that's coming from a genuine place. Thank you so much, Dorothy, for that. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes. As he said, if it was like a decent offer, it's like, hey, we blew it here, man. We ruined your card. We'll just give you like the 45K or whatever that the card is worth. We literally just sold one, and we'll move on past this. But they don't do that. Instead, they lowball him an offer based off of just imaginary nothing math because they're trying to screw this guy over. And then they're saying at the end of the email that if he accepts it, they're basically going to lock him into confidentiality where he can't disclose anything about it because it would make PSA look really bad. And I think it's pretty clear he probably hasn't accepted that offer. I imagine, will be rescinding the offer, as Dorothy threatened to do in the end of the email there. And I think it just is a really, really bad look for PSA here across the board. I don't think they could have handled this any worse. But I also think this is a really nice look at how a company like PSA operates. I have said PSA is shady for a while. Dorothy calls it a standard form, which leads me and many others to believe that this is just the norm for them, that if they ruin your shit and it's over $500, they'll lock you down into being like quiet about it, so they'll pay you off like hush money and you can't talk about like, the settlement, which I can almost see the logic behind, because, like, PSA probably doesn't want people hearing that they're ruining cards over, like, $500, because then people won't feel comfortable sending them the cards. But on the flip side of that coin, it would probably be good for their image to be like, hey, look, mistakes happen. We handle so many cards, this volume. There are going to occasionally be these hiccups. And when that happens, look at all of these people we've taken care of when we've made an error. Like, I feel like you would want them to, like, say, like, no, I was upset about it initially, but then it got squared away. They gave me exactly what the card was worth. But that's clearly not how they operate. They'd rather just have it be, like, seemingly really lowball fair market value that they just make up poof out of nowhere based on nothing tangible. Like, it looks like what they tried to do is take really old sales of that card and then, like, kind of take into account their most recent sale and then find the average. But that's a stupid way of doing it because of how much the hobby and just the reselling has blown up. Like, it makes no sense why you wouldn't just take the data from the most recent sale your fucking self has just done. It seems like it's just a very underhanded tactic in order to try and justify these lowball amounts that they're offering that appear to be standard based on Dorothy's email. And the confidentiality, I just don't think is a good idea. Even though I can almost see why they're trying to do that, I think it's still just a shitty look. I think it would be far more effective if they just said, like, again, we made a mistake, and this is how we correct it. Look, he's even posting about it. We gave him exactly what the card was worth when we fucked up. I think that's a lot better than, we fucked up your card, now shut up and take this much lesser amount than what the card was worth.
So in the final picture, Brian includes the sales of all the past, cards of the same card, all the past sales is what I'm trying to say. And as you can see here, the last sale in February 2026 was $45,000. Now, just to clarify, because apparently Tony over here says, my only thing is that the card itself is different in that 45K sale, like different artwork. If you compare the exact same card, then they are fair. Oh my god. This card, they're saying the artwork is different because it doesn't look the same as this one over here. It's the same card. It's lenticulated. It has 3 different artworks on it.
I liked that section because I also saw a couple of people on, like, the original post saying, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not even the same card. The art's different. So I guess we've reached a point where people don't remember what lenticular means, like what those items are, like what they look like. The reason it looks different there is because it's just at a different angle, so you're seeing one of the different arts. It's lenticulated. There's 3 arts there. Like, Jesus Christ, it's the same card. And it only takes like 1 second, actually 1 second, to just type it in yourself to double check, like, is this the same card? Like, I don't know, it's different artwork, but maybe I just don't know what lenticular means. Let me look it up. Oh, okay. No, I see. Now I get it. But no one wants to do that anymore. They'd rather just immediately just type that stupid shit.
And I know some of you are wondering, like, look at these other sales. They go from, they're 5,500, they're 10K, 15K. Why is this 45K the one we're looking at? Well, you answered your own question. Because as you can see, cards are fluid. Their prices are going to go up. And it's only getting higher as time goes on. And when a card goes up in value, you can't just value the next card you sell based on the average of the past 3. That's not how it works. If anything, the card should be worth more money because, as you can see, there's a clear demand for this card and it's going up as time goes on.
Not only that, with a card this rare, every one of those sales, the reason it keeps going up is because there's less and less of them that exist, and there's not going to be more. I would be beyond surprised if we saw another PSA 10 of this card within the next, like, 2 or 3 years. It's very, very, very rare. So that's the reason it keeps climbing. So the most recent sale being 45 should be the one that they would look at the fair market value for and extrapolate like it's at least 45K. You wouldn't be taking the averages of the other ones because it's growing in demand and also in scarcity. There's not going to be more. So it's going to go up. And they know that. Again, this is just a very convenient way of trying to save quite a bit of money here for their boo-boo. Anyway, though, this is a good breakdown of the PSA situation here from Snom Nom. I'll link the original in the description. And yeah, that's really about it. So,